When Ukraine got its first shipment of F-16s from Western allies, it started shifting the balance in the air war with Russia. That shift isn't complete yet, but Ukraine now has the ability to defend itself better against missile strikes and even launch attacks on high-value targets. And the game might change again. A groundbreaking upgrade to the F-16 could make Ukraine's air power nearly untouchable, if it arrives in time. This upgrade would make Ukrainian F-16s much harder for Russian electronic warfare systems to detect, track, or lock onto. It's called the Viper Shield. Testing is already underway on this so-called electronic shield in the sky. On June 12, Defense Express reported that L3Harris, the company behind the Viper Shield, had officially started testing a new electronic warfare countersystem that's already in high demand, with 6 countries having placed orders. The Viper Shield is compatible with the F-16V, also known as the F-16 Viper, which Ukraine already has in its fleet. The full name is the AN/ALQ-254 V1 Viper Shield System. It's already being fitted to the Block 70 and Block 72 variants of the F-16V L3. Harris also says it works with the Block 40 and 50 versions without needing to change the jet structure. Even older F-16s can benefit by using external pods to carry the system, meaning no jet gets left behind in this upgrade. Testing officially began in January 2025, according to Defense Express. L3. Harris reports that production of the hardware is already in progress, and the software is still being fine-tuned to maximize performance. The first systems are expected to be delivered by late 2025, and full production is slated to begin in 2026. So far, 6 countries have ordered a total of 168 Viper Shield units. That number could grow rapidly once the system proves itself outside of controlled testing environments. So what exactly does the Viper Shield do? Wes O'Donnell, a U.S. military veteran turned journalist and author, breaks it down in a YouTube video. He describes it as a digital force shield that won't make a jet invincible, but makes it much tougher to shoot down. According to L3Harris, it's a next-gen electronic warfare system developed with Lockheed Martin. The system uses off-the-shelf commercial tech to create a virtual electronic barrier around an F-16, protecting it from jamming and interference. It includes a digital radar warning receiver, DRWR, that integrates with the F-16's APG-83 active electronically scanned array radar, giving pilots better situational awareness. In other words, they can see threats and targets sooner and respond faster. Viper Shield also features a digital RF memory-based jamming system to counter signal jamming threats. What makes this system stand out is that it's cheaper and simpler than previous electronic warfare platforms. L3. Harris says it was built with fewer critical parts, which means it's lighter, smaller, more reliable, and has lower lifecycle costs. Plus, its modular design makes it easier to swap out damaged components in the field. The software, like the hardware, is built for easy upgrades. That's key. Threats evolve. Russia, or any other adversary, could eventually figure out how the shield works and try to counter it. But the modular software and hardware make it easier to adapt the system to deal with new threats just as effectively as existing ones. The system is also easy to install, which matters a lot. As O'Donnell puts it, instead of cutting into the jet and rewiring the whole thing like you're restoring a classic Mustang, you can just plug the system in. Block 70 and 72 aircraft can take the system internally, and older versions can use external pods. That simplicity could be a huge benefit for Ukraine. Keep in mind, the country only got its first F-16s in August 2024, so its pilots and maintenance crews are still getting familiar with the aircraft. A complicated system that requires tearing apart the jets would be risky. Not just in terms of time, but also because mistakes could cost them an F-16. With the Viper Shield, they wouldn't need to take that gamble. Most versions of the F-16 can integrate it with little trouble. Even older variants only need a pod attached. O'Donnell goes deeper into what the system does for pilots. Instead of basic radar alerts, Viper Shield gives them a clear image of what's locking onto them. That means pilots can react faster to threats. The jamming system also works better than anything currently on board, mimicking and confusing enemy radar so that threats miss their target. O'Donnell calls this turning the F-16 into a mischievous ghost, a target that's nearly impossible to pin down. There's no denying that the Viper Shield is a major leap forward. For Ukraine, this could change everything. Not only is it easy to install, but it also keeps its capabilities hidden. Unless it's attached to older jets using external pods, Russia likely won't know which F-16s are carrying the shield. That forces Russia to assume every F-16 might be protected, reducing their ability to counter the threat effectively. That's the power of invisible defense. It lets Ukraine carve out safer air zones. As O'Donnell notes, the skies over Ukraine are deadly, filled with threats like S-400S, Pantsir, Iranian drones, and endless electronic warfare noise. Despite this, Russia hasn't been able to gain full air dominance, even though it has thousands of jets compared to Ukraine's 150-200 aircraft. Ukraine's defenses, especially its drones, have been too effective. But Russia has adapted. It now floods areas it controls with air defense systems and launches massive drone attacks. Just because Russia isn't flying jets constantly doesn't mean the skies are any safer for Ukrainian pilots. That doesn't stop Ukraine from using its F-16S aggressively. In April, General Christopher G. Cavoli confirmed that Ukraine's F-16S fly daily missions, taking out cruise missiles and launching bombing runs, especially in eastern Ukraine. Ukraine is doing everything it can with the aircraft it has. But even with those efforts, F-16S are still outmatched by some of Russia's more advanced fighters and defenses. Yuri Ignat, spokesman for Ukraine's Air Force, recently said Russia has jets with better sensors and longer-range missiles, even when compared to F-16S. Plus, Russian air defenses work in tandem with those aircraft, giving them an edge. The reality is, as powerful as the F-16 is, it's still a platform that dates back to 1979. Sure, it's been upgraded many times, but at its core, it's still a 4th-gen fighter facing off against newer 5th-gen threats. That's where the Viper Shield steps in. It doesn't turn the F-16 into a 5th-gen fighter, but it does significantly boost its chances of survival. With Viper Shield, pilots can evade incoming missiles more easily, hit their targets, and get out alive. The shield also helps fight one of Russia's strongest weapons, electronic warfare. In September 2023, Russia deployed a system called Krasuka, which can jam aircraft systems from nearly 93 miles away. That kind of interference has forced Ukrainian pilots to fly lower to avoid detection, which increases their risk, and even operate without navigational systems. That's incredibly dangerous. The Viper Shield could be the answer to those problems. David Hambling, writing for Forbes, says Ukraine and Russia are in an electronic warfare arms race. Both sides are flooding the air with jamming systems and spoofing devices. These tools can redirect missiles and trick targeting systems. The side that can stay a step ahead in this game gains a critical advantage. Hambling mentioned a Russian system called Kometa that uses KRPA and null-forming technology to block incoming signals. It's obscure tech, but it's deadly. If it works, a bomb meant to hit a school could instead detonate in an empty field. That's the real-world impact of electronic warfare. If Ukraine gets the Viper Shield, it puts them one step ahead in this battle. It's about survival in the sky, and this upgrade could save lives. There's still a big if, though. Ukraine doesn't have the Viper Shield yet, and none of the countries that ordered it have publicly committed to sharing it. But there's reason for hope. As O'Donnell explains, 6 countries have already signed contracts for the system: Bahrain, Bulgaria, Slovakia, Morocco, Taiwan, and Jordan. Ukraine is receiving the Block 70 F-16S, the exact type the Viper Shield was designed for. Slovakia might be the key here. While not the biggest donor, Slovakia has already given Ukraine MiG-29S and S-300 air defense systems, valued at around $80 million. That's small next to the billions given by the US and EU, but it shows support. Even ordinary Slovakians have stepped up, raising $2 million in a crowdfunding campaign when their government paused military aid in 2024. With that level of grassroots support, there's a chance Slovakia could send Viper Shields too. There's also the intriguing possibility that Viper Shield might be adapted for use on Ukraine's older Soviet-era jets. Ukraine already modified MiG-29S to fire French AASM Hammer bombs. NATO weapons not originally meant for those platforms. So if they can do that, maybe the Viper Shield could work on those jets too. If it does, Ukraine would suddenly have many more planes capable of flying high-risk missions while resisting Russia's jamming tech. With the Viper Shield, Ukraine might finally have the gear it needs to counter one of Russia's most effective weapons. Now, the world waits to see if this breakthrough system ends up in Ukrainian hands. And even if it doesn't, Russia still has big problems. Ukraine has already taken out thousands of Russian artillery systems. Want to know why that matters and what it means for the future of the war? Stick around on Control. Lost for more updates on the tech shaping the battlefield.